Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eat Saigon. I'm Vanessa, and today I wanted to share with you a really great local recipe that I love, which is banh mi siu mai. Now with Vietnam, Dalat was actually the first region to take on siu mai, take out the outer casing, and then we created our own version of that meatball. With siu mai, in America, you may be more familiar with the term meatball. You've seen it in Subway sandwiches, you've seen it in spaghetti, and the way that we like to do it is a little bit similar. We like to make it a meatball as well. We will add a tomato sauce to it, and then we're going to throw it in banh mi, in our baguette here, and also put on top of rice. So I'm going to show you how to make the siu mai. First ingredient that we have here is going to be ground pork. And with the ground pork, you want to have it about 80% lean, 20% fat. Nothing too lean because you don't want it to be dried out once we put that into the pot. I put a little bit of green onions on top because we're going to just stir everything together. Of course, my favorite, chili. And here I have half a kilo of the ground pork. This is the cornstarch that we're going to use not only for the sauce, but also to bind the meat together. Of course, tomato paste, good old salt and pepper here. And of course, no Vietnamese dish is complete without fish sauce. I love nước mắm. It's great as a marinade. It's great as a dipping sauce. So we're just going to use just a little bit of that to give it that nice fishy flavor, but not too much because we don't want it to be too salty. This baguette here is what we're going to use to stuff. And to bind everything together with the meatball, jicama is a very popular vegetable that is used. We're going to mince that up. And typically, you'll find jicama in just about any supermarket, whether American or Asian. Green onions, of course. We're going to use both the white stalks and also the green stalks as well. Chili is optional. I just like to have it on the side in case I want to add a little bit of that spicy taste to everything. Over here, we have tomatoes. We have some garlic, and we have some onions. Now the egg is optional to bind the meatballs together since we're already going to be using the cornstarch. And let's get started, everybody. Okay, so you want to get a big bowl that will be able to put everything in here. And then we're going to get the meat. So I'm going to use about half of this just to start out with, and I'll add more as I go along. We have the ground pork in here and we have the green onions. Now we're going to add the cornstarch. So we're going to add about 1 tablespoon of that. We're going to add in some black pepper, so about 1 teaspoon. We're going to add a little bit of the fish sauce in there. So with nước mắm, once again, just a little bit to give it that nice salty fishy taste. So I would say about half a tablespoon. And then the brown sugar. So we're going to add just a pinch of that. So with this jicama, I'm going to use just about half of it. And you want to finely mince this up. The reason for the jicama is it gives it a nice texture balance. The crunchiness of it really makes the meatball taste good. You can also opt for panko crumbs. You can add the egg, as I mentioned earlier. But since we already added the cornstarch in there, the jicama, the meat, and everything will be just perfect. Sometimes instead of jicama, some people do like to use water chestnuts. It's really optional. I like jicama. I just think that jicama absorbs the flavors of everything else really well. Okay, so now that the jicama is in there, I'm going to chop up some garlic, which will also go into our meatballs and also go into the sauce that we're going to create. So I'm going to turn on the pot here and get this nice and hot. I have about 1.5 cups of water in there. So we're going to let that boil and get started on the sauce. And then I'm going to continue to marinate the meat. Okay, so we're just going to throw a little bit of the garlic into the meatballs. And we're just going to set this aside. And now we're going to start on the sauce. So you want to chop up The tomato's about 1 inch big. Throw this into the pot. So you want to have the pot on high heat so that it boils, and then we're going to reduce it later. I'm going to add in the rest of the fish sauce in there. We're going to add in a little bit of salt and a little bit of the pepper. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Give that a good stir. And then we're going to add in the rest of the garlic, and then a little bit of the tomato paste. So I would say about 1.5 tablespoons for this. So while that is boiling, we're going to start making the meatballs. And then with the meatballs, we're going to roll these into nice firm balls. So this is a perfect size. So this sauce is thickening up really, really well. We're going to let that sit just a little bit longer. I am actually now just going to season the meatballs a little bit more. So a little bit more salt and pepper. All right, so it's thickening up really, really well. I'm just going to give it a taste and see if it needs a little more seasoning or if it's good to go. It's got a really nice tomato taste to it. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. I'm going to give it a good stir. Then I'm going to remove the sauce and put this into the plate. And then I'm going to fry up the meatballs just a little bit. Then put the sauce back in. And then it'll be ready to be eaten with the banh mi and also with the rice. You can see it has a very nice, thick texture. You've got the tomato skin, the chunks, the garlic in there. So now, I'm going to add in vegetable oil. I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of that. Get that nice and hot. And then we're going to add in those meatballs. Get them nice golden brown. Give it one nice good pat. Throw that in there. Okay, so now we're going to add the tomato sauce back in there. And then we're going to let that simmer for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then it should be done, and then we'll add that into the banh mi, and then we'll be good. All right, so it looks like everything has simmered down really nicely. The tomato paste has now seeped into the meatballs, so I'm ready to take it out. Give that one good stir. All right, so everything looks just about ready. I'm going to scoop this out. Get the rest of that broth because we're just going to dip our bread into there. So I always like to add a little bit of cilantro. And I'm going to add in just a little bit of black pepper in there. You have it. This is sumai that I'm going to eat with banh mi. So typically for banh mi sumai, you split this in half and then you will add in the sumai, you'll add in a little bit of the sauce, and then you will add in cucumbers, green onions, cilantro. But for me, I don't like to be too messy when I'm eating banh mi sumai, so I'm just going to actually dip this in there and scoop out the meat as I'm eating it. All right, everyone, so now that the sumai is done, I am going to eat this with the bread. As I mentioned earlier, you usually will slice the bread and then put the sumai in there, but I want to make it a little bit less messy, so I'm just going to dip it in there and then get the piece of meat. The meatball is perfectly braised, very tomatoey, very rich in flavor. Everything was so yummy. So, as I mentioned, sumai is essentially a meatball. You can make it in different ways. I mean, it's an American culture, an American cuisine, and Chinese cuisine, just about anything and everything. I love the way that Vietnamese people make it because it has that tomato sauce. Eat it with rice, eat it with banh mi, either which way you can't go wrong. So guys, thank you so much for today, and if you like what you saw, please like, please subscribe, tell everyone about Eat Saigon. If there's anything that you'd like me to make, please let me know, leave a comment. All right everyone, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye.